On this particular story, we'll have a conversation about the fact that the former vice president announced opposition coalition to challenge the president in 2027 general election. And to have this discuss with us is Daniel Chukunonso Ogbe, Esquire, a legal practitioner. Good evening, legal.
Yes, good evening. It's my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
How did you receive this pronouncement from the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to form an opposition, or already formed opposition? We've been hearing stuff going on for a couple of weeks now. We've also heard denouncements, persons saying they are not part of this. But we suddenly see the immediate past governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, switching camps, leaving the ruling party, APC, and calling on others. And now, the former presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the lead opposition party in the country, is also seeking for a coalition. How did you receive this news, legal?
Anyway, what is playing out in the country, in the political terrain of the country, is a welcome development. But beyond what is playing out with regard to the coming together of some political actors in the country, we also have to take a look at the circumstances beyond this political convergence, if I should use that expression. We also have to appraise the interests that are being brought together under one umbrella by these political actors, and also the possibility of this coalition seeing the light of the day. Now, in the first instance, there is nothing wrong with political actors coming together to form a viral opposition. It is said that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And as a matter of fact, in any democratic setting, political office holders are made to become more accountable and responsible when there is in place an opposition that is living up to expectation. Accordingly, what has been done by the political actors whose names you reeled out, on the face of it, seems to be a welcome development. However, having said that, the pertinent question we have to ask is this: what is the reason behind, or what do we think is the reason behind the coming together of men of like minds? Is it for the purpose of putting Nigeria first, for the purpose of taking Nigeria out of the woods, or is it geared towards the projection of the political interest of these men, so to speak? Because just like what happened in the year 2014, when the now ruling All Progressives Congress was bettered, we saw men who came together solely for the sake of ousting the then former President Goodluck Jonathan. And Nigerians, as far as I'm concerned, we are thrown into leadership turmoil thereafter. So we should be asking a critical question, or better still, the men who have come together to form a coalition should be telling Nigerians that, look, we decided not to come together for the sake of coming together, but we have decided to come together because, going by our antecedents over the years, we believe that we offer a better alternative to the status quo. We believe that if given an opportunity, that we'll be able to make a difference. And if this stance will not be projected based on mere rhetorics, this stance should be projected while putting forward what these men have done in time past. In which case, failure to do that, I'm afraid to say that many Nigerians may not be willing to embrace this new development wholeheartedly without any form of reservation.
You mean Secondly, the key players now? You mean the key players in this coalition?
Yes, they have to tell Nigerians what they have done in time past, while juxtaposing same with the prevalent need in the country, in which many Nigerians are yearning, for responsible leadership in the country. Because as far as I'm concerned, many Nigerians are not comfortable with the type of leadership that is taking place at various tiers of government in Nigeria as I speak. even those who may claim to be sympathetic to the ruling government in their respective private corners. There are many people who are not happy with at least the economic turmoil going on in the country. So these men that have gathered together, I think the Nigerian people, they are becoming more enlightened politically. I know as a fact that many Nigerians will be keen in knowing, what these people have to bring to the table. I also know that there are some names there in the opposition fold who, to a great extent, they have a good reputation to market to the Nigerian electorate. Now it now boils down to the political arrangement that the coalition may be willing to sell across the Nigerian people. I wouldn't like to project any candidate at this juncture. I am not part of the coalition, but if I were to advise this political heavyweight, I think they have to look within and then push forward any candidates who, to a great extent, may be sellable to the Nigerian public, in which case they can now throw their weight behind any such candidate or candidates for the purpose of seeing to it that a better alternative is made available to the Nigerian people. So coming together, so to speak, may not be the problem, but another issue has to do with the issue of interest. I know as a fact that if I remember vividly, former Vice President Atiku made it clear, if I'm right, I beg your pardon and I apologize in advance if I'm wrong, but I think of late he stated that he is going to run for the presidency come 2027. If that is the case, then I think that the issue of interest may not allow the coalition, to make much progress, to make much impact in the Nigerian politics.
No, it's still at the nascent stage. I mean, the coalition is just being formed. We never can predict the eventual agreement as time progresses.
The foundation of any establishment is of paramount importance. Despite the fact that the coalition is being formed, yet you have to, it is good and also vital at this juncture to take a look at the foundation of this coalition. And that's why I'm trying to juxtapose this development with the stance of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Agreed, constitutionally he has the right to aspire to occupy the #1 position in the country. Agreed, he has the right to also express himself politically. Now, but having taken a firm position that he is going to run for the office of president come 2007, unless he decides to also, take a more diplomatic stance. What am I trying to say? Apart from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, we hope and pray that the divergent interest of the members of this coalition will allow them make progress. Because if you have a situation whereby you have individuals who are adamant, be it Atiku Abubakar or be it Alhaji Atiku Abubakar or Mr. Peter Obi or whoever, if they are adamant that they must run for the #1 position, I'm afraid to say that they may not make progress. But if you have a situation whereby they are willing to embrace some forms of compromise here and there for the purpose of saving the Nigerian nation, then it will be a wonderful development. So agreed, the coalition is still at this nascent stage. Yet it is also vital at this early stage to make known, to make known to the Nigerian people the roadmap, the vision of this coalition, the agenda of this coalition. Whether this coalition is all about some persons trying to project their political interests, having a more formidable force. Because definitely, when political force gather together, they tend to have a stronger bargaining power, within which they can approach the electorate. Unlike when they operate on their own respective lanes, political lanes. So if they are willing to embrace compromise at this initial stage for the sake of the Nigerian nation, then they may make headway. But if they are forming this coalition, whereas you have individuals who are adamant that they must have their way, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but the reality on ground is that this coalition may not see the light of the day.
Oh, okay. Something happened in 2013 where there became a merger of the three largest opposition parties at the time: the Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN, the Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, to which the immediate past president belonged at the time, Buhari, and the All Nigerian People's Party, ANPP. We also heard that some breakaways from APGA, All Progressives Grand Alliance, were part of the foundation members of what has become APC today. Then to 2015, we saw this party firming up enough to oust the ruling party that has been there for 16 years. Do you think that there is a possibility of a replay of what the picture I just painted?
Again, I wouldn't like to sound pessimistic, but I would love to be realistic this evening. From what is playing out, I don't think the 2014 scenario will play out again in this country for now, at least under the watch of President Tinubu, because there is an adage in my place that a child who will fare well in life is being discovered from the early stage of his existence. Now, if we should, go down the memory lane of what transpired in this country post 2000 pre-2015, you will agree with me, or you may be tempted to agree with me that these various opposition political parties, they were to a great extent coordinated. They launched coordinated political assaults on the then ruling People's Democratic Party, even prior to the coalition. And we saw some members of the then ruling People's Democratic Party identifying with the opposition fold. But that seems not to be the case at the moment. As I speak, with due respect to the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, with due respect, seems not to be a forceful opposition party. And again, if you take a look at what is going on in the PDP, with due respect, even seems to be in disarray. And many people believe that the internal wranglings in some of these opposition political parties may have to do with the activities of the members of the ruling party. What am I trying to say? The opposition fold is not yet well coordinated, because most politicians, for the purpose of protecting their political interests, may prefer, planting moles in the camps of their adversaries, so that the adversaries will not be well coordinated, to put up any formidable opposition to the activities or to the political fortunes of the ruling party. So, assuming the PDP were to be a serious-minded opposition political party, then it will be easier for members of the opposition to come together while embracing the platform of the PDP or any other platform in order to put up a formidable force against the ruling All Progressives Congress. But from my own personal observation, that has not been happening. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, I believe that there are some members of some political office holders in this country who in theory are members of the opposition People's Democratic Party and other opposition and members of other opposition political parties in the country. Yet they identify
only one person. I don't know if
to a great extent.
Are you confirming others? Are there others that we do not know?
Are there
others that you are aware of that we do not know? We just know one person who is in the lead opposition party that is a member of the federal government executive.
Is he the FCT minister?
Yes. I don't know if you know.
Apart from that, let's take a look at the activities of the governor of Tinubu State.
Oh.
Mr. President was in Tinubu State some months ago, and he told us that it's not about the party affiliation. Agreed. When one is the president of the entire country, irrespective of political divide. Nevertheless, beyond rhetorics, it is worrisome that you have members of, or you have a serving minister from Enugu State who is of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Yet he's not putting up the desired or the opposition against the ruling People's Democratic Party in this state. In other words, if we should apply logic, I may be right to say that there seems to be a harmonious political understanding between the governor of Enugu State and the ruling All Progressives Congress. That's my own observation. And as a matter of fact, for instance, take a look at the state like Anambra State. Anambra State is under the control of the opposition All Progressives Grand Alliance. But we have not forgotten the role played by the incumbent governor of Anambra State. In the last general election, the governor of Anambra State came after the Labour Party presidential candidate. So having said that, it will take the highest miracle of the century, for instance, to see APGA, a political party, under the leadership of the governor of Anambra State, who, by virtue of his position, I believe should be deemed to be the leader of the party either formally or informally. It will be surprised to have Charles Oludo of Anambra State identifying with this opposition movement. Unlike what was the case prior to 2015 when the Abga faction that Russia Sukorocha belonged to identified with the then coalition that bettered the All Progressives Congress. So in a nutshell, what is playing out at the moment with due respect is that we have a weak opposition fold in the country. The only opposition I think that is viable at the moment in Nigeria is the Nigerian people. But that is dependent on the willingness of the Nigerian people to challenge the status quo. In which case, come 2027, the Nigerian people may decide if they are tired of bad governance, if they are tired of, being manipulated by political elites who tend to find the embers of religion, ethnicity, and other primordial sentiments in confusing the Nigerian people during the electioneering season. If the Nigerian people are truly tired of that bad governance, then we take a look at the candidates that they put forward in 2027, and then by virtue of their willingness to do away with bad governance, then they rally around and throw their weight behind any candidates that promises, to offer solutions to the myriads of challenges that have bedeviled the Nigerian nation and that has made us to be grasping for the breath of survival in this country. That's the only form of opposition that may be put up against the ruling party. But from my observation, we have political professors who are members of the ruling political party. They are conversant with the intricacies of opposition politics because they've once been in the opposition, and they know that whenever you have the united, disciplined, and and formidable opposition, then the ruling party will have serious challenges to contend with, and that's why I reasonably suspect that they are busy. Members of the ruling party are busy planting crisis in the opposition fold, so that you now have situations whereby you have two persons clamoring, fighting over the national secretary position of the People's Democratic Party. Believe you me, some persons who may be tempted to run for political offices under the platform of the PDP, they may be skeptical in doing that, knowing full well that to a great extent you have two factions in the People's Democratic Party, which ordinarily is deemed to be the major opposition political party in the country. So I don't want to sound pessimistic, as I said earlier, but I'm just trying to be factual. I'm trying to be realistic, But I wish the opposition folds the very best. I hope and pray that they are going to surmount the challenges, the enormous challenges placed on their way by circumstances, by the actions and inactions of even their party men. Just like the LCT minister is a very interesting example. And with due respect to the PDP, with utmost due respect to the PDP, especially the members of the PDP who are serious-minded, is marks of the highest echelon of irresponsibility for a party like the PDP to have the person of the FCT minister in his fold. Yet he has openly been working against the interests of this party without being penalized in any manner whatsoever. In other words, it seems that the FCT minister is above the PDP, and if that's the case, if you have a party, if you have one man is above, is above the leadership of the party, where you have one man who cannot be called to order, then that party, with due respect, is not a serious-minded opposition political party, unless they are trying to converge under a different platform, in which case you will now find the governors of the PDP, because you cannot do away with the sensitive roles these governors have to play if you are talking about opposition politics. Because if you are talking about opposition politics, you cannot do away with the requirement for financial resources needed to prosecute the activities of opposition. And unfortunately, Nigeria will still play money politics. It's a sad reality, in which case many political office holders did their hands in public offers while making use of funds belonging that should have been used for the purpose of governance in prosecuting politics. But this is the reality on ground, in which case you need the political services of governors and other political office holders who occupy some positions in the country to be able to take care of what I refer to as logistics in prosecuting the activities of opposition politics, because it is difficult for opposition politics to thrive amidst hunger and poverty. It requires funds to convene political meetings, both at the world, local government, and state levels. It requires funds for logistics to be taken care of. Funds are needed to keep the will of opposition politics alive. And if you don't have a good number of governors or other political office holders in such in an opposition fold, and then no matter how promising that opposition may be to the Nigerian people, many Nigerians may not even be availed of the opportunity to listen to such opposition political party when they don't have the financial wherewithal to project and market themselves. Just like what happened to former President Buhari when he was in the opposition fold before the coalition of 2014. He had challenges in prosecuting his campaign, but immediately the Bola Tinubu and Amechi factors played out. Then immediately the Lagos and River State factors played out. Presumably, the resources were, popped up to give his campaign the colorful outlook. For the first time, we now saw a Muhammadu Buhari who appeared very handsome in suits, in billboards across Nigeria. We now saw a Buhari campaign that took a more lively dimension, unlike what was the case when he was under various opposition platforms like the CPC and, if I'm right, ANPP, wherein he had challenges in bankrolling his campaign. So you cannot do away with the role that these incumbents have to play. So I'm afraid to say that what played out in 2015 may not play out in 2027 in this country because of interest, and because of the unserious attitude of the party touted to be the major opposition political party in the country.
Okay, the way you're sounding, it appears that at the time that which party was the leading opposition party before 2013? It wouldn't be, there was no APC. I'm thinking AD at the time. But usually it's looking, okay, even presently, it's looking like it's a measure of disgruntled politicians, especially those ones that have been sidetracked by the APC. Atiku, for instance, who played a great role during the merger in 2013 and helped largely. I mean, there were, conversations around this at the time that he helped bring Buhari into power, having left PDP to join the coalition at the time, 2013 before 2015. Now it's also looking like this disgruntled politician. Atiku was bruised because after 2015, he started experiencing what I'm talking about. And by 2017, he had to cry out. In fact, he had to officially leave APC. And of course, we know what happened during the next election. He was in PDP, contested alongside P2B before the 2023 general election. Now, another person that it does not all go well with in APC was the former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai. So I'm seeing a marriage of disgruntled politicians, and every one of them has interest. Do you think that, I know you have alluded to that in the past, but I need you to actually give us your view about this person. Probably they would drag in the Labour Party candidate in 2023 election, and who knows, Kwankwaso with his Kwankwasia movement. Now, all of these persons are not happy with the party APC, or at least 85% of them. What are your thoughts on this? Disgruntled politicians.
Anyway, let me lay emphasis on what I had earlier said. For opposition to thrive, at least at the national level in this country, you need the support of at least quite a sizable number of governors. I repeat, the roles to be played by incumbent governors in opposition politics cannot be overemphasized. If you remember what happened in 2014, when the opposition leaders came together to oust former President Jonathan, governors were involved from the southwest, from the north, and even from the south and part of southeast. Because it's a sad one, but we cannot rule away the influence that these governors have in their respective terrains. Let me give an example using El-Rufai. No mention of El-Rufai. El-Rufai is from Kaduna State. When he was governor of Kaduna State, he held sway But it will take the highest magic of the century for El-Rufai's influence to now dominate that of the incumbent governor of Kaduna State, because you cannot rule away the power of incumbency. This would have been a different ballgame if El-Rufai were to be an incumbent governor. In other words, despite hailing from Kaduna State, I don't see the ruling All Progressives Congress losing in Kaduna State, not based on the votes to be cast, but based on the influence of power of incumbency. You know, these are sad realities in Nigerian politics. You cannot rule it away. Just like what happened in Rivers State, there is this in the 2022 general election. There is this strong belief that the Labour Party presidential candidate won in Rivers State. Many persons hold their opinion, going by some information made available to the public after that election. But because of the role that the then governor, being the now FCT minister, played, the ruling APC won in quotes, won Rivers State. So, no matter how disgruntled you may be, if you don't have quite a good number of governors who are seriously committed to your personal position in Nigeria today, at the national level, I'm afraid to say that you may not make progress. You will now take a look at the activities of the PDP governors, say for a few people like Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, who has been vociferous against the government of the APC. Here in Enugu State, for instance, I have not seen the governor of Enugu State, exhibiting any form of opposition against the center. I have not observed that. I don't mean you should be along our heads with the center, but I don't see the governor of Enugu State as being an opposition, an opposition figure to the Bola Tinubu's administration. That is the reality. That is the reality. Likewise, even in a state like Akwa Ibom, I don't see the Akwa Ibom governor being forcefully, antithetical to the leadership of Bola Tinubu. And that's why even during the last local government election, the APC won in quote, the local government of the Senate president. So I now say that going by the way most governors conduct local government election in their terrains, they have unlimited powers in determining who becomes the local government chairman, even those to the detriment of the Nigerian people, because what they call local government election is not the election in true sense of it that most of them normally conduct. But the point there is this: possibly politically, the governor of Akwa Ibom State decided to, romance with the ruling party by allowing at least the APC to win in quotes in the local government of the Senate president in order to reach a political understanding. Automatically, it shows you that there seems to be a form of political romance between some of the governors of the opposition People's Democratic Party and the ruling All Progressive Congress. This, to the best of our knowledge, wasn't the case when APC, prior to the formation of APC, the opposition governors, they were firmly involved in the business of opposition. Rotimi Amechi never played hide and seek. He openly went against Goodluck Jonathan. The same thing, the ACN governors from the southwest, led by the now president, they held the country hostage politically when Jonathan was in power. We have not forgotten about occupying Nigeria. Their media department was alive. The media arm of the then opposition fold was very like the likes of Lai Mohammed. They kept scrutinizing the government, in some instances resorting to propaganda for the purpose of discrediting the then government of Goodluck Jonathan. But today in Nigeria, many worse things have happened ever since Muhammadu Buhari became the governor, the president, and thereafter handed over to Bola Tinubu. Yet we have now seen a vociferous PDP. Rather, we have seen a PDP with lukewarm attitude. Nevertheless, I think the little hope that may emanate from this coalition is if these forces, if they decide to project a candidate that is charismatic, then they can now also utilize their political connections, in fortifying and solidifying the influence of any such candidate. I don't want to mention any name, but the truth is glaring for all to see. Among these opposition candidates, left for them to go back home and do their homework well and tell themselves the truth. At times, some people don't like telling themselves the truth. But even when you lie to another person, it's usually good for one to tell oneself the truth. So these political heavyweights should go back home and tell themselves the truth. Say, among ourselves, who is the likeliest person to be embraced by an average Nigerian? Now, that being the case, you should also look for a formidable running mate for that candidate so that we can wrestle power from those people and avail Nigerian people of an opportunity to breathe, to have a breath of fresh air. Failure to do that, I'm afraid to say that the incumbent president may have his way again. He's a political strategist. You know, he has been in this business for a very long time. I'm afraid to say that he will have his way come 2027. Already, most of the opposition folks, they're even in this array.
Okay. Now, you said that the power of incumbency will play a major role in the fulfillment of the reason for the coalition. El-Rufai was mentioned because he's no longer the governor at this time. He may not be as forceful, as pushful as he should be, and that same goes for Fayemi, who is the former governor of Ekiti State, and the last time I checked, he belonged to APC. And so what I said about this disgruntled politician coming together to form a coalition is looking like it. But generally speaking, do you foresee any governor trying to, join this marriage of coalition to make it as viable as possible? You see what played out in Rivers State. We actually saw some governors. One, PDP governors were pro-Fubara, one of their own, and South governors as well were pro-Fubara. Do you think that this kind of move will also, make it easier to win them over to join the coalition?
Well, if you are talking about coalition, Atiku Abubakar is a leader in the PDP. So I believe there is a presumption. I haven't heard that he decamped from the PDP.
Not yet.
He's still a member of the PDP. For him to be in the picture, it raises a presumption that, he's that the PDP, thoroughly and indirectly, is part of the coalition. That's an assumption that, because Atiku has not decamped, he seems to be their leader. From my own understanding, I know that I will have at least two camps in the PDP. The pro-Wike camp and the pro-Atiku camp. And that's part of the problem, because even the PDP is not even united. Of course, it's difficult to have absolute unity in any given terrain, but we expect reasonable unity. But that seems not to be the case with the PDP. There is serious division in the PDP, and that's why I say that it is strange that the PDP has not been courageous enough to punish the FCT minister, to penalize him for obviously working against the interests of the party. And if that's the case, the PDP is a major opposition party, and if the governors of the PDP have not come out forcefully to push any agenda for coalition on their own, and it's only the likes of Atiku Abubakar and some other key factors that have come out openly to champion that. I am afraid to say that the way I see the PDP governors, at their names, I'm just looking at the one after the other. They are not forceful enough. They are not radical enough politically, to challenge the center. In fact, even with this emergency, instead of emergency now declared in Rivers State, I may not be wrong to say that any governor who wants to pose much headache to the center may intentionally sponsor crisis in the state, declare a state of emergency, and remove the governor. Don't rule that out, because the impunity has come to stay. Even those, especially members of the PDP, who are members of the House of Reps and Senate, who are also supposed to kick against what happened in the Rivers State, it's like they also embraced what Mr. President did. So basically, with due respect, I don't see any viable platform upon which this coalition will thrive. I am sorry to say, look at the Labour Party. That's why the gains that the Obedient movement in the Labour Party made in the last election. Labour Party, with due respect, is also in disarray. And many believe that it's also
sponsor
the handiwork of the ruling party to ensure that there is no coordinated and decent platform upon which opposition members will thrive. Agreed. Now, El-Rufai has moved into SDP. unless some of these persons that they are all willing to converge under SDP. Even if that should happen, I still repeat what I said earlier. You need the influence of governors to wrestle power from the center as far as national politics is concerned, because these governors wield enormous influence in their various terrains. That's why it's usually an exception to the rule for an incumbent governor to be defeated in his terrain. It's usually an exception to the rule.
You can never
and that's why they were able to wrestle power from Goodluck Jonathan in 2015.
You can never rule out that in Nigerian politics, anything can happen. Remember 2015.
Definitely. I agree with you. But that would be a case of unexpected development, like what happened in 2023. We never saw the Ogbe wave coming.
Okay.
If many persons have seen it coming, they would have joined the party while waiting for him to join the party. So some factors may play out in the country, but ordinarily, if you're talking about conventional politics, I don't see President Tinubu being defeated. He can only be defeated from my own perspective as a human being. If the Nigerian people, if most of us are tired of Tinubu's presidency, because I can tell you that despite the anguish in the land, despite the excruciating hunger, despite the frustration, despite the despair, many people will still come out and vote him come 2027 because of primordial ethnic and religious considerations. And it happens across board, even here in Enugu State. Prior to 2023, some of us were deceived by the hue and cry of Enugu people that they are suffered in the lives of bad governance. But when it was time for decision to be made, many people in Enugu opted for two candidates, being the incumbent governor and the then his main rival of the Labour Party. But both of them, they are the same people as far as I'm concerned. So the Enugu people came out, many of them voted his main rival because he joined the Labour Party. So that is the highest level of, I don't know the best expression to use. Anyway, let me not use any foul language, you are on air, but it is a strange behavioral pattern of the Nigerian people. It shows that, for instance, in Enugu State, as of 2023, that we are not yet tired of past governance. So taking it to the federal level, many people will still vote President Tinubu, take it to the bank.
All right, thank you very much for
even in the north, some northern political elites may want to vote him so that he will have his 8 years in the bag, after which power to them will now return to the north. So there will even be division in the north. Some persons will want him to complete his 8-year tenure in office.
Okay, so these are the issues. But we will watch as things so unfold. We are Nigerians and we are still here. Thank you very much, Daniel Chukwunonso Ogbe, for being with us on the first segment of Signature Evening.
It's my pleasure. A wonderful evening to you all.
Thank you. Daniel Ogbe is a legal practitioner and a political affairs analyst.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.